Good morning. Good morning. Who's with me right now? I'm gonna wait for some people to join. How's everybody doing this morning? Let me see if anybody's in the chat room. Good morning, Lori. Why won't it let me type? Why won't it let me type? Well, we're gonna start getting into it real quick. Home base, but we got it figured out. Unfortunately, we had to get a smart meter put in too. We fought it for a long time, but now it's there. But I mean, everybody's got smart meters nowadays, but it sucks. It's not my house anyway. It's my mother-in-law's house that we're temporarily at. So, uh, but the good news is I do have a publisher. Actually, a publisher that's linked to not something that's in my belief system so much, but very similar to some of the things that I believe. And they tend to have made a whole religion out of the end times, which is what we're living in right now. Unfortunately, we're living at the end of a cycle. But there's an end times church, and they are responsible for the reprint of some of the Dead Sea Scrolls that we see, like the Book of Lamech of Cain, the Book of the Giants, Lost Book of King Og. And I might be able to use the same publisher that they use to print those books. I've talked to the guy yesterday, so they do publish other people, and I got some of the information. So I want to work with a publisher that I'm friends with and that I know well and that I could kind of trust, and because I've had a lot of other offers for publishers to publish. Of course, you pay for your own publishing basically, but I mean, you don't pay for your publishing, but they take a percentage of what's published, of course. But the whole thing is that I need a few supporters so I can dedicate my time to writing. Right now, I'm just taking little bits and pieces out of my day to scribble down notes for my book. But if I was able to get a couple of supporters, and I've had a few very good supporters lately, especially the ones in my shaman group, and of course Susan out there. I don't want to say last names, but Susan and Yana, I really appreciate the donations that you recently gave not too long ago. And if I had a few more donations like that from people, I can actually devote a couple weeks to writing this book and get it done. Because I have certain books that I feel not only will benefit humanity, but it'll not awaken people, but help them remember who they are and remember what we have what's inside of us before it's too late. Now, they already have, I don't even know if you want to use the word computers, but they already have advanced computers that can tap into your brain, that can manipulate your brain and tap into all the activity of your brain. And what we're about to talk about is mind-blowing, and no one else that I know of has talked about this topic to this extent and what's taking place. And I was shown certain things that is horrifying but amazing at the same time, that this is possible. And I do feel that they at once time had a technology that was similar to this on our planet, but it was a more natural version of these abilities. And now we are linked into a replicator version of these abilities, like I've been talking about. What I'm mentioning is we have, of course, telepathic abilities, higher dimensional brain. We have most of our brain and our DNA and our abilities are unplugged, are not being used. And if you go back on my website, from the first day I started my website 4 or 5 years ago, I write, I clearly write that, we have a chunk of our percentage, 97 maybe percent of our DNA, that the scientific communities and all of these communities, they want to complain, they want to say that percentage of our brain is junk DNA. that they just don't know it's there for no reason. Hey, Blue Angel. Well, let me tell you, this is where your true abilities lie, within that percentage of your DNA and your consciousness that you're not using and activating. Within that percentage is your other strains of DNA, and within that are telepathic communications, being able to bilocate, which is almost like be at one place with your astral body and another place with your physical body, and being able to just teleport yourself to different locations in various different ways. Not just project your image, but possibly even travel this way as well, and activate your own personal transport system, locomotion system between realms, which some people call the Merkaba, of course. And like I've said before, Merkava, or it's spelled with a V in Hebrew, is the root of MKV, which actually means to ride on from one thing to another, a locomotion. It's the root word, just like Makavet, which is a train or a locomotive. This is the same root word as Merkava, which means to ride one thing upon another. That root, it's the transport. It's a transport system for our five bodies, the bodies that we have around us. Not only our physical body, but to transport from physical to spirit, to transport matter. Now, of course, whether you're you got a piece of granite, a piece of wood, or a human body, everything is vibrating, some at a slower rate to make it seem dead solid, that it's not moving at all, it's just stuck there. Well, if you change the vibration and frequency to what is there, you can change the state of that object. And if something is slowly vibrating, so slow that it looks like it's just a rock and it's not moving, then there's certain forces within our brain and certain technologies out there that can change the frequency and the vibration of that object. We are walking frequency generators. People need to understand that. We are walking frequency generators that can change the vibration and the frequency of things around us. So what I've been talking about lately is very, very important to what's happening on our planet now. So I don't know if I hope I'm coming in clear right now. I think someone's just trying to message me on Skype. I'm actually looking out for my dad's dog's landmines right here. I'm walking around and I'm there's one. There's a landmine. I gotta pick up some poop. There's a landmine. I'm at my dad's house right now. His dog, actually it was my mom's dog at one time. My mom died in 2011, but the dog's like 15 years old now and it's dying. So my dad's at work right now, so I come in the mornings and let the dog out, because the dog has to go out like literally like every 2 hours or it'll pee all over the place. I'm dodging landmines right now. But so if you looked at my, hold on, let me jump. Actually, my dad took all the seats out of there. Wow. Let me get a chair so I can sit down. My dad closes up his pond for the winter. Oh, so here we are. Hey, Lori. Hey, Denise. What's up? So if you look at the Spiral Out t-shirt, oh shit. On the back is the Eye of Ra. I don't know if I can't see it from here, but I don't have a mirror behind me either, but yeah, you can find these at teespring.com. I will have them up on my website. I had some computer yesterday, so I wasn't able to edit my website. Hopefully everything will be worked out today. But if you go to my video yesterday, and a lot of my videos are only becoming available, my replays are only becoming available for my patrons. I really want to build up my Patreon more. $2 gets you in the door, everybody. We're doing weekly Zoom chats, as well as I put daily articles up on there. And literally, there's almost 1,000 posts from the last year or two on Patreon. I have paranormal proof, paranormal encounters that I've had that I've caught on video or camera. I've had countless articles and information and pictures from my archives. Every picture I put up on Patreon is from one of my books and one of my archives that I've had, and this is from not only the last 30 years of research that I've done. I'm in my 40s, so I've done 30 years of research since my near-death experience, since I'm 10 years old. I'll be 42 this year, but I've done 30 years of my own research, and plus my family's books that's been handed down to me, and prior knowledge from ancestors that's been handed down to me. So I have an extensive archives and books that I'm very, very proud of. I don't get any of my information off the internet, barely ever, unless I'm looking at someone's YouTube video, and I rarely watch other people's YouTubes. I rarely watch it. So it's very hard to get people to grab people. And my writing is about spiritual technology, not only obelisks, but other spiritual technology that has been hijacked, that is being used on the population, and is broadcasting an end times transmission for the apocalypse and accelerating these end times, merging technology and spirit together to come over our souls like a net. And one of these technologies is our telepathic and psychic abilities, and being able to tap in to celestial bodies with our consciousness. And I have found places in ancient Egypt, ancient Mesopotamia, and various other ancient cultures where they are displaying in their pictures and in their monuments this sort of activity, where the consciousness is embodying a celestial body, and it's enhanced with other technologies from certain materials on our realm and certain things on our realm. And one of the examples I've been talking about is the psychic telepathic abilities of the Cybeles, or I've heard other people say Cybele or Cybele, or there's so many ways you could pronounce it, I guess, but I say Cybele. Now it's spelt, well, the Cybelean oracles is spelt with an S, Sybillines, but this is called the Cybele, Cybele. Now these are a group of seers, prophets. Now the women were mostly Cybeles, but they also had clans of Enoch priests that were involved with these cults. And I do believe that I was involved with one of these psychic clans long ago, and that I'm part of my duty here now is to help our world not make the same mistakes again that we once did. And I don't think it's I think that this certain technology that we have. Yes, Laura, you got to become a patron. Only $2 a month is the lowest platform, and it gets access to most things. Of course, the higher platforms get you more readings. I send charms in the mail or crystals in the mail as well. And of course, we have Zoom chats and all sorts of information all the time on there. So I put all of my inside access on there, and basically we become like a small little group, family, community, and it's really an awesome platform. And every month I gain new subscribers and then lose some subscribers when it comes to payment time. So it's a rough way to try to earn a living. It's just it's some side action, I guess, if you call it. But it's not dependable. But I wish I had a bigger platform to build on off that, and more people think I've been suppressed. A lot of my information has been suppressed, and not only been suppressed, but also have been copied and used by other people. And what can you do? Nothing is new underneath the sun. Of course, I'm talking about some ancient information that's been talked about before, but I have my own cutting edge twist to it from my own visions and my own downloads. And I have been able to tap into celestial bodies and the other spiritual realms of our brain. And I do feel like I've been marked because of it as well. And of course, I've been battling dark forces most of my life. And it's I don't even want to share some of the things that I've recently gone through. But trust me, my purpose on this planet is and to be a psychic and to help others with the information that I and there's certain forces out there on this planet that try to do everything they can without being completely obvious to stop me from my goal and my true dream and my true calling. Now, I'm not saying I'm some targeted individual, because I believe this is not just with me, it's with all people, and to some degree we're all targeted, we're all being manipulated. Our consciousness, all of our brains have been programmed and manipulated from the very jump. Now, yesterday I was talking, I did an article about the truth behind Area 51, at least the location, and what the Babylon workings were. We can get to that in a second. But what I wanted to talk about is a continuation of yesterday, and that is the Cybele's needle. The Cybele's needle is a dark brown, sort of black meteorite that is about 3 foot to 3 foot from what I've seen in my visions. 2 to 3 foot. It's conical in shape, like it's shaped like a large cone, sort of like a cone, and it's not black, but it's like dark brownish black, from what I've seen. And this a meteorite or celestial body, if you want to say, embodies the telepath or the seer that holds it, that's connected to it. And there's certain spots in our physical coordinate, and of course on the coordinates on our planet have a spiritual counterpart to it in the other realms. So it's a multi-dimensional anchor when it's put in some locations. And I've been led to certain spots on this planet like this in my life, and like I've talked to, like the one in North Salem, New York, that I've been to. And when things are made out of pink granite or rose granite or red granite or granite in general, these were once stones that were literally alive. They were molded into place. They were used, some technology was used to make the granite substance out of body parts, literal body parts. And that's the one thing that I do agree with Mud Fossil University about that, the guy Roger, because I heard that I was talking about how I believe red granite was once alive, and then people started emailing me about this guy Roger for me to check it out, and I did see some of it. I've looked into a few of his things, like huge dragons being crashed to the earth and people living out of them. I'm not sure if that's fully correct, but I do think that he's onto something with that. But with these Cybele needles, this Cybele's needle, it was put at certain oracles, sort of like an Omphalos stone. Now, if people don't know what an Omphalos stone, look at the Delphi. Now, the Omphalos stone, like the Cybele's needle, they are ritually programmed. They are programmed with an encoding, a holographic encoding, that, yeah, you might see certain things on the meteorite, the physical manifestation of that encoding on the meteorite that could look like spiral, sort of like even like a serpent sort of chain, or DNA, or some sort of physical carving on the stone. But the spiritual layer to that physical carving is the holographic encoding and the holographic information, and the celestial body that it's connected with is encoded within that stone as well. So when you see the Umphalo stone, or certain stones like this, it's literally spit. It's usually. I'm reading the chat room. It's usually in encoded with some sort of information. Some sort of moving library of information on there. It's like it's entwined. It's encoded with a. It's sort of like a computer in a way, the way I could describe it. And when the Sibyl's needle would either be held or put into a certain place, locked into place in a certain position on this planet, then the Sibyl or the psychic or the seer or the telepath would literally embody the information within that stone. And not only embody the information with that stone, it would open up a link, a telepathic link to the celestial bodies. Now, this can be used to literally call down stones from the sky. It could be used to pull in other meteorites and other asteroids on our planet and other atmospheric conditions. It could change the elemental forces on our planet. It can change the consciousness of humanity on our planet. That's how intense some of the technology is with these stones. Now, if you look, I found very interesting, intriguing information within the Lost Book of Og, the Book of the Giants, things like this. And some people can just cast it off as the Jews or the Hebrews or other people have tampered with these findings. And like I mentioned before, actually time jumpers have been tampering with certain inscriptions, certain ancient writings, and they've been changing our history altogether. And it's from certain technologies like this, certain places that could be special places in the fabric of time that could be gone to by time jumpers. But what I'm getting at is that these stones, these sort of technologies, they have a way to be able to connect to celestial bodies. They have a way to be able to tap into the spiritual coordinates on our planet. And yeah, it's used all over by the ancients and by modern day elites. Now, this was used. What was it? I got off track for a second. So I found interesting things. I know people want to cast out the Lost Book of King Og, the King Og's prophecies, the Book of Giants, the Book of Enoch, the Genesis Apocryphon, the Book of Lamech of Cain, the Book of Esther. All of these the Apocrypha, Bel and the Dragon, all of these, the Nag Hammadi scriptures, all of these findings from the Qumran caves and other books that are not in the canon, people want to just cast out as not real information. Now, I do believe, and especially people want to say, "Oh, you could buy the Lost Book of King Og for a few bucks on Amazon. How can it be some ancient knowledge within it?" They're reprinting fragments of scrolls that were found from literally like the first century BC. I mean, first century AD. Literally, some of the most ancient writings that we have on our planet is being relayed here. So they could have been tampered with, of course. They could have been changed. They could have been. But how do you know that the Bible is the legit writings and this doesn't have any truth? Now, some of this just can't be made up. All right, some of this stuff just, I don't think it was made up. It was actually, the translations might be wrong, but there's some very interesting things that I found reading this. Especially, oh, wow, I'll get to the chat room in a minute because everybody's talking about some things that are very interesting. Especially when I was looking into the Lost Book of King Og, they have a list of giants in the Book of Giants. They have a list of different giants and their abilities. A lot of these giants, you will see, have the ability to bring certain death with their eyes. What does this mean? That means they can literally kill a man from their telepathic abilities. But not only this, they can tap in forces who were known to be able to call down stones from the sky. And they were able to hook up to flying machines. And they were able to do a telepathic connection to otherworldly forces and open up gateways. And this is where the Babylon workings actually come from. It's from these beings. It's from literally the Watchers, the Grigori, and their offspring, and the Rephaim. All of these beings, that's where sorcery came from. And I'm going to get to the Babylon workings in a second, but this Cybele's needle is one of these stones where if you can embody the stone, you can literally call down a rain of terror from the sky. In the wrong hands, it could bring apocalyptic asteroids. Now, in 204 BC, they were using this stone and other stones in the Delphic Oracle, the Delphi Oracle in Greece. And it brought asteroids and meteors down from the sky. And the stones were falling at quantity. And Rome had recently received prophetic information that they would be coming into an age of luck. And at this time, Rome was in some dire straits. They had Roman soldiers encamped during winter time, and they were encamped and they were in dire straits. And they got information that things were going to start getting better. And they took this stones falling from the sky as a sign to consult the Cybele oracles and the Cybele oracles. So at this time, they got a boat together, the best boat they could find. They got some of their mightiest warriors, and they transported the Cybele stone from Greece to Rome and to that area of Italy. Now, it's said that Eunuch priests, and now if you're not, I think you spell it Eunuch. If you're not familiar with that term, Eunuch priest, this literally means people that would castrate themselves in the name of spirituality, in the name of religion, in the name of getting more psychic abilities. They would literally castrate themselves. Now, I'm not sure whether I was actually a woman seer, prophet in another life, in another timeline, or I actually was one of these Eunuch priests. Because, not to get too graphic, but I've had countless dreams in my life where I woke up in a cold sweat, and the dream was literally that I cut off it was never really my balls. Like usually in the dream, I would literally cut off my penis and then put it back on and like hold it into place and hope it would stay and things like this. And I just thought it was like some weird fucking crazy dream all the time. But then recently I was involved with washing this meteorite, this large sort of like spiraling cone meteorite in a river, which I feel was in Florence or some sort of ancient Tuscany area. From the surroundings that I was at, I felt like I was in ancient Tuscany, ancient Etruria. You know, these are the ancient land of the Etruscans, the Umbrians, pre-Roman times. And I saw myself or you know, people that I was related to, or at least I was involved with, holding this dark brownish black meteorite in the water, washing it in the river. And literally it was connected to me, cutting off my member or something like this in the dream. And then I never thought the two were related, but I do believe that it's related to either Eunuch priests that I was helping castrate as a woman, or I was actually one of these Eunuch priests in another life. You know, who knows? You know, it's a quite possible. And now I'm here to not make those same mistakes again that I made in prior lifetimes. And I have some of this knowledge of the ancients within me, and that I've been activating. Now, this Cybele stone, one of the most important stones to seers and psychics all over the world, it was known all over. It disappeared from history. Now, it's my understanding, 100% sure almost, that the Vatican has this Cybele's needle, and they have it under lock and key. But the thing is, high tech, modern technology to this stone, the information within it, to human consciousness and to the celestial bodies through computers. And I don't know exactly how, but they're somehow they have a replicated even version inside the computer of the components within this stone, and they're somehow linking it to celestial bodies and calling down asteroids from the sky. And this stone, I think something activates with it on the vernal equinox. I feel it's connected to Aldebaran. Why do I say this? Because if you see my story from yesterday, my video from yesterday, I was talking about I was having a psychic experience. I was literally asking my higher self to give me a message about what this stone, the origins of this stone, and I saw the head of a bull with the one red eye. That's Aldebaran. That is the eye of God to the ancients. And if you see a lot of people in a cult using the one eye technique, of course, this is the all-seeing eye. Some people even reverted to the eye of Ra, the pineal gland, or something that is also from the eye of Aldebaran. People need to know that. This is one of the most ancient occult symbols of all, is the one eye of Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, the red eye of the bull. And this is where I think this stone is connected to. It brings in things from other dimensions connected to Aldebaran. Of course, the Nazis and the Vril Society and certain organizations that were occult organizations that were involved with the Nazi regime were heavily working with forces from Aldebaran. And I do believe that this Cybele stone is related to some sort of heavy-duty computer work that's going on, and they're bringing apocalyptic asteroids towards our planet. And they did some sort of ritual on the vernal equinox, and literally there's a space force trying to prevent these asteroids from coming into our realm, or they're pulling in asteroids so they can mine gold off of them and mine certain materials off of them. So this is really intense. People need to know that there's a literal base that's related to this research and things going on that's on the moon and within Venus. And so there's celestial bodies being tampered with through bases, and there's mining. People don't even understand. There's mining colonies and certain colonies that are on the moon that would blow your mind. Within the hollow of the moon, and little bases that are on certain parts of the moon that have to do with what I'm talking about, and some of the high-tech information and computers and quantum intelligence that is infiltrating our world and coming over our consciousness and our souls and entwining with our DNA. And the Cybele stone is involved with this. The Cybele's needle. And this is really mind-blowing information. Of course, you're only going to hear it here at Exploring the Ka or at patreon.com/themysticalspiral. I have new crystals that I just got in, and I'm going to be sending stuff out to my patrons and new subscribers. Definitely check out my Patreon. If you're just finding me here, it's the best place to be. If you're looking for occult information about a religion, artificial intelligence, spirituality, metaphysics, anything that you can think that is related to your higher dimensional brain, all sorts of crazy beasts from the past, mythology, all sorts of things that we talk about. Like yesterday, I have something called the Spirit Flame News that I do pretty much daily. Yesterday I did the last few times I did something on sea serpents and unicorns. And there's one type of unicorn being that I talked about yesterday called the Kirin, or Ki Lin, or just the Lin, or the Ki. There's different names for it in Japan and China. And these were telepathic horse-type unicorns that had psychic abilities, and they had like an indestructible one twisting horn. And these colonies do exist in inner Earth. They do have these sort of beasts within our Earth, and this is where the Vril Society was connected to, and who they were channeling was from colonies within our Middle Earth, within our inner Earth, and on the Moon. Now, real quick before I go, is if you're looking for more information, go to my Patreon. But I was talking about where the Babylon workings come from and why even Marjorie Cameron was picked. She was picked because of her DNA, because of hereditary line and her green eyes and red hair. These are the traits of the giants. These are the traits of the DNA genetic components of the ancients. She had a high DNA content of some of the Rephaim, some of the offspring of the fallen. And this is the reason why she was used, and she was lured to Jack Parsons. Now, the mainstream occult, the mainstream alternative radio, the mainstream media want you to believe that Jack Parsons did a lot of his Babylon workings in, I think, either the Mojave Desert or Pasadena or somewhere in California. The real underground occult knows. People that have been, either have hereditary families that go back decades and decades, or had people involved with the occult within those times and it's been passed down, or people in the know, they'll tell you that the underground information, forget about the mainstream, but the underground information about the Babylon workings is where the main portion of it took place where Area 51 is now. Now, the whole purpose of a Babylon working is to bring in a moonchild, some sort of human being, but it does not have the soul of a human. It literally has the soul of a fallen angel or disembodied spirit of one of the giants or the Gorgori or Watchers. This is how they come into this realm and mix their DNA with this realm. They embody a human. They're born as a human, but it's done through spiritual technology and ritual. Now, what happens during the Babylon workings is that a ritual circle is made, and then there's other components like blood, and different things that are involved with making the ritual circle. But within the circle, and as soon as you, first of all, draw this circle or activate this circle, and nowadays this can be done with computer work as well, and they could do it on a larger scale and more intense. But so the people that are having, first of all, when you draw the circle, you already have these watchers at the scene. They are the guardians, the watchers over the dimensional planes. They are the watchers over that ritual circle. They are the watchers over that sorcery information. They are the ones that provided that sorcery into this realm, into the consciousness of humanity. So when you activate that technology, they are there. They are already there waiting. Now, if somebody has sex within that ritual circle, while the sperm is entering into the mother, and it goes into the womb, and the baby is literally goes in there, it's not with the consciousness of a regular human. The baby is now possessed with the soul of this Grigori or this Rephaim or descendants of these creatures that are disembodied spirits on this plane. And the woman, while she's impregnated within that ritual circle, she's impregnated with a demonic force, you could say, some sort of angelic creature, some sort of programmed otherworldly being. Now, most of these pregnancies end in miscarriage. But the thing is that when these babies die, they become disembodied spirits on the physical realm. They become part of what we call in the occult the furious horde. These are literally beings that are in the other worlds, in the spiritual realms. It's where souls go when they pass, but they cannot go to our higher dimensional state. They are literally a plague of this physical realm. They can go no further than what they're attached to, and they're attached to this physical realm, but as a spirit, as a spiritual being. And they are disembodied spirits called the furious horde that literally will suck the energy and the blood of people in their dream time. And they will cause ghosts and hauntings and kinetic energy and all sorts of uh, evil experiences for man. They will make people abuse babies. They will make people kill babies. They will make people drown babies. They will make a mother suffocate her daughter or her son. This is what is involved with killing the spirit of humanity, is by the birth of these moon children. And King Og did this ritual. People don't talk about this. King Og did this with his queen Lesta, and they were having a hard time at childbirth with these giants. And Queen Lesta was a red-haired, green-eyed giant woman, the wife of King Og. And King Og had to open a doorway to converse with Baal, to beg for the life of the Moonchild. So this is not what people think these Babylon workings are. This is the most evil of evil. And instead of opening this doorway, I think Jack Parsons actually ripped it open. He tore open the dimensional plane, and it was never closed properly. And now Area 51 was built around that tear. Literally, Area 51 is built around a tear in our dimensional space-time. And they built that facility around it, around the activity coming in and out. And guys, you can always support me on my PayPal or right here on YouTube. Go to my Patreon. That's the best place to be. Patreon.com/TheMysticalSpiral. Hopefully my computer at the house will be working in a couple hours so we can go live, because I do have crystals I want to get rid of. I want people in the chat room. We could see show coming up as long as my computer is working later on. Thank you guys for joining. You're only going to find this information right here. I really appreciate everybody leaving comments. Any questions out there? Let me see. Yes, the book is my main goal. I just need to actually be able to, I need time, and time is money. So like for me to dedicate a couple weeks, I need to be able to provide for my family for those couple of weeks while I write the book. It's really hard to sit there and write a book when I got to go out and get money for food and diapers and this and that. So it's really hard. I'm doing little side jobs here, side jobs there, things like that to make money, but it's really rough right now. So there's no way I'm going to write a book working 10 hours a day in a warehouse, killing myself with energy. So that I'm glad that is over. It's sad that I had to lose the job, but it was the universe's way of putting me on my path, I feel. So let me see. Thoth Mark, I never got no email from you. Never got an email. What was the email about? I'm not sure what the email was about. I never got it. You got to understand, even though I'm not, I'm not, I guess, famous or anything like that, I do get dozens of emails a week, sometimes a day, from people. So it's hard to even read most of them, because most people, they write books. They want to write like a couple pages the first time they talk to me, and I understand their excitement because, you hear something and you're like, oh my God, I thought I was the only one who thought about that, or I thought I was the only one who's experienced that, and then you find somebody like-minded, so you want to talk to them real bad, so you try to get everything out. I understand that, but people, try to introduce yourselves first maybe, and from there, don't just come with a huge book that I can never get the chance to read. It's rough. People don't understand. I'm out there in the community. Like, I do a radio show, I do this, so like all these different people hear me all over the world. So I get contacted by a lot of people, a lot of weird people too sometimes. So it's hard to get back to everybody, but that's why the best place is the Patreon. I respond to everybody on Patreon. Everybody in my little community, that's the place to be at. Thank you all for joining. We'll see you later, and Spiral out.